The Dallas Cowboys are staring at one of the most defining off-seasons in recent memory, and the deeper you look, the more it feels like this team is walking a tightrope between a full defensive identity reset and a front office philosophy that refuses to change. Everything happening right now points to a franchise that knows it has problems, especially at linebacker, but isn't fully committing to solving them in the most aggressive way possible. And that tension is where this entire story begins. The biggest issue looming over this roster is the second level of the defense. For years, linebacker has quietly gone from a strength to a glaring weakness, and now, with the transition to a 3-4 system under defensive coordinator Christian Parker, that weakness is being magnified. In a 4-3, you can sometimes hide inconsistent linebacker play with a strong defensive line. In a 3-4, you absolutely cannot. Your linebackers are the engine. They diagnose, they react, they cover, they blitz, and they set the tone physically. Right now, the Cowboys don't have that tone setter. That's why the trade rumors surrounding players like Jordan Brooks and Azeez Al-Shaair aren't just speculation, they're signals. They reveal exactly what Dallas knows it's missing. Brooks, coming off a strong season with a high-performance grade, represents stability and reliability. He's the type of player you plug into the middle of your defense and instantly feel better about your run fits, your communication, and your ability to control the tempo of a game. If Dallas were to land him, he wouldn't just be a starter, he would likely become the centerpiece of the linebacker unit overnight. Then there's Azeez Al-Shaair, a completely different type of situation. He's not just productive, he's a tone setter with years of consistency. The only reason he's even being mentioned is because of contract pressure in Houston. That's the kind of opportunity opportunistic teams capitalize on. But here's the real question. Are the Cowboys truly opportunistic, or are they waiting for the market to come to them like they always do? Because that's the other storyline running parallel to everything. Dallas and its approach to free agency. This is a front office that consistently sets valuations and refuses to budge, even when the market clearly demands aggression. It's a disciplined approach in theory, but in practice, it often leaves them behind. While other teams secure impact players early, the Cowboys wait, hoping prices drop, hoping value appears. Sometimes it works. A lot of times it doesn't. And this year, there may be an even deeper reason behind that patience. The possibility that Dallas is quietly playing the compensatory pick game for 2027. If that's true, it adds another layer of complexity. Because now you're not just evaluating players based on talent and fit, you're evaluating them based on how they impact your future draft capital. That's a dangerous game when your current roster has obvious holes. The linebacker position is the perfect example of that risk. Dallas has options on the market right now, including players who wouldn't even affect the compensatory formula. But the longer they wait, the fewer options remain. Eventually, you're not choosing from solutions, you're choosing from leftovers. And for a defense trying to reinvent itself, that's not a position you want to be in. At the same time, the Cowboys are trying to convince themselves that the draft can fix everything. And to be fair, they do have the capital to make that happen. Multiple picks in the top 100 give them flexibility, and there are intriguing prospects across multiple rounds. But relying on the draft to solve a structural defensive issue is always a gamble, especially when the linebacker class itself doesn't offer a sure thing. That's why the conversation around prospects like C.J. Allen has become so complicated. On tape, he's instinctive, physical, and reliable against the run. But questions about his athleticism and recent medical concerns have introduced uncertainty. And this is where teams get into trouble. When need meets uncertainty, bad decisions happen. Reaching for a player because you have to fill a hole is how franchises set themselves back years. And the Cowboys know this. They've lived it before. Which is why there's a growing sense that they may look elsewhere in the draft, possibly targeting positions like cornerback or edge rusher earlier, while addressing linebacker later. Names like Josiah Trotter and Jyshawn Barham offer intriguing fits in the middle rounds, especially for a defense that values physicality and versatility. But again, you're talking about projection, not certainty. Now, if there's one prospect who could change everything, it's Sonny Styles. He represents the modern linebacker in every sense. Size, speed, coverage ability, versatility, he checks every box. A former safety turned linebacker with elite athletic traits, he's the kind of player who can transform a defense. In a scheme like Parker's, he wouldn't just fit, he would thrive. He could cover tight ends, blitz off the edge, patrol the middle, and erase mistakes. But here's the reality. He might not even be available when Dallas is on the clock. And if he is, the decision becomes massive. Do you stick to your board, or do you seize the opportunity to draft a potential defensive cornerstone? That's the kind of moment that defines front offices. Right in the middle of all this uncertainty, here's where you come in. If you're a Cowboys fan watching this unfold, ask yourself this. Would you rather see this team stay patient and trust their process, or finally go all in and aggressively fix the linebacker position right now? Drop your answer in the comments, because this decision could shape the entire season. While the defense is going through an identity crisis, the offense has its own looming storyline, and it revolves around George Pickens. His situation is fascinating because it sits right at the intersection of production, age, and contract uncertainty. On one hand, he's a young, highly productive receiver with clear upside. On the other, his long-term future in Dallas is anything but certain. The recent wide receiver trade market has essentially set the stage for what a potential Pickens deal could look like. We're talking about a valuation somewhere between 750 and 900 points in draft capital terms. That's significant. That's the kind of return that could reshape a roster. And when you look around the league, there are plenty of teams that would be interested. From the Panthers trying to support Bryce Young, to the Chargers needing weapons for Justin Herbert, to the Chiefs always looking to maximize Patrick Mahomes' window, the demand is there. The question is whether Dallas is willing to create another hole to fill others. Trading Pickens would be a bold move, one that signals a shift in philosophy. It would say that the Cowboys are thinking long-term, not just trying to patch immediate issues. And that brings us back to the overarching theme of this entire offseason, identity. What are the Cowboys trying to be? Are they a team that builds through patience, discipline, and calculated moves? Or are they a team ready to adapt, take risks, and aggressively pursue solutions? Even the decision to move on from Trayvon Diggs reflects that tension. At one point, Diggs was one of the most dynamic playmakers in the league. But the Cowboys recognized the decline, recognized the risk, and made the difficult decision to move on. And now, as he sits without a clear market, that decision looks validated. It's a rare moment where Dallas acted decisively instead of passively. But one correct decision doesn't solve everything. The defense still needs help. The linebacker room still lacks a clear leader. The scheme transition still demands new types of players. And the clock is ticking. Perhaps the most puzzling situation of all is how the team is handling Marist Liufau. A player who showed promise, intelligence, and physicality is now being asked to change positions entirely. Moving him to outside linebacker in a 3-4 system might unlock something, but it also feels like a gamble. You're taking a player who hasn't fully developed in one role and asking him to learn another, more complex one. It raises a bigger question about player development within the organization. Are the Cowboys maximizing their talent, or are they constantly reshuffling pieces without a clear plan? Because in a league where development is everything, clarity matters. As this offseason continues to unfold, every move, or lack of move, becomes more significant. The trade rumors, the draft strategy, the free agency approach, it's all connected. This isn't just about filling roster spots. It's about defining the future of the franchise. And that's why this moment feels so critical. The Cowboys are not far from contention, but they're also not complete. They're in that dangerous middle ground where one great decision can elevate them, and one mistake can hold them back. So as we move closer to the draft, keep your eyes on the linebacker position. Watch how aggressive or passive this front office chooses to be, because that decision will tell you everything you need to know about where this team is headed. If you want deep, detailed breakdowns like this all offseason long, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications. Because the next move the Cowboys make might just be the one that changes everything.